I'm calling it my selfish era. And sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. I'm like, I'm living my best damn life. Like, I'm telling you now, like this selfish thing, there's something to it. There's something to it for sure.
How do you figure out what you really want? It's a heavy question to carry, and it's one that usually gets drowned out by the noise of societal shoulds, the pressure to follow someone else's playbook, the habit of putting someone else's needs first, or what about when you just put the kibosh on your own ideas because of your fears and insecurities? I'm Kristen Rocco, a Bold Moves mentor, and this is the Bold Moves How Did You Know podcast. Maybe you're here because of a sudden wake up call that shifted your perspective, or you've simply reached the quiet exhaustion of performing at a game you no longer want to play. Whether you're standing at a career crossroads or wearing an identity that simply no longer fits, you're in the right place. Here, we actively reject the narrative of the midlife crisis, and instead we step into the emboldened midlife clique. Because what if the most interesting person you've ever met is actually the woman you're becoming right now? If you spotted Colleen Kochannek on the street, you would know it instantly. You notice her bold red glasses first, then her red short hair, followed by her petite stature, and finally those red Converse shoes. I haven't asked Colleen if her style is an intentional choice to reflect her third act, but I assume that she's boldly stepped into the person she's meant to be, and that includes a signature style that's uniquely her. She says that her third act is her first life. That statement alone got the internet reeling. How could this be your first life at 58 years old? They wanted to know. But I know exactly what she means. The way we move in this world is by and large predefined by a set of scripts that have been created before we entered this world. The ones that define how we operate within our families, communities, culture, and society. Those scripts can block us from listening to our own voice, the voice that tells us what we really want. So I invited Colleen onto the podcast today to tell us about the contrast of her second act, the wake-up call that laid the groundwork for her third act, and how listening to her voice now is creating a life on her terms. Or, as she says, the one I'm building now is by me, for me, and about me. Hello, Colleen. Welcome to the Bold Moves How Do You Know podcast.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I am so excited to be here. I loved all of the intros. I loved all the intros. Yes.
Right. It's really resonant, right? You can relate a ton just even thinking back to your own life, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I am so excited because you are my first guest of season 5, and I'm on cloud 9 that I'm back in action and you're here with me.
Yay. Back in action. 5 seasons, man. Congratulations. That is amazing. That's really incredible.
As I reflect on it, about 3.5 years for the 5 seasons, it keeps rolling because there's so many stories to tell. There's so much to learn. You know, humanity is a very complex subject that we are continuing to peel back the layers on here because honestly, we have to understand ourselves in order to make the bold moves. And so, yeah, that's what I'm excited about our conversation today. You're here. I knew you would be with your red glasses. We can't see your shoes, but you're always sporting a colorful palette. And so I do want to know, is this style that you have become known for, your signature style, is it something that you have created to mirror your internal identity? Has it helped you embrace a new way of life that you've taken on now in your third act?
I think it's maybe a little bit all of the above. Quite frankly, it is just me finally getting to do me, right? So I was corporate for many decades. And of course, you have the corporate uniform, which does not typically include red Converse chucks or wild clothing. And so that was the back burner for a long time. And once I was laid off, and also I should say, I grew up in a very kind of not conservative, like religious family, but more conservative, just more preppy and I don't know, just more muted. And so, but it never felt right. So I'm just in this era of I'm doing me. And if it If I'm excited about it, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And I'm all about the comfort now too. I'm not wearing uncomfortable shoes anymore. I'm not doing it.
I love it. I'm in the same place. I'm like, if I'm working from home remotely, I'm in some stretchy, nice jogger pants that feel
Yes,
comfortable and actually don't even really feel like I'm wearing anything.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into it. You're calling this era that you're in right now your selfish era. And I want to know, what does that mean to you?
Bottom line, what it means is I consider myself first in every decision. Me first in every single
Mhm.
decision. And it's a very new place to be. As you mentioned before, so much of our lives are predefined, prescripted, all the things, the family you're born into, your community, your culture, the bloody patriarchy, all of those things. And this is the first time in my life where I'm just like, what do I want? Not what do they think I should want, not
Mhm.
what will make them comfortable. What do I want? And so I'm calling it my selfish era. And sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. I'm like, I'm living my best damn life. Like, I'm telling you now, like this selfish thing, there's something to it. There's something to it for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if it pokes the bear a little bit because it actually shows somebody else that they're not doing it their way. And so maybe that's the cause of the reaction.
Yeah, I that and I think a lot of it is patriarchal structure. We're taught as women our value comes from our function for others, doing for others, making sure others are comfortable, making sure others have what they need. Like it's always about other people. And we're taught that when we do for ourselves, it's literally harming other people, right? Because you're not doing for them first. And so the label selfish was really given a very negative connotation. And
Mhm.
I don't think it is. I think we need to be selfish first, because it's the oxygen mask analogy. If you are not taking care of yourself first, it doesn't matter. It won't matter.
Totally. The oxygen mask analogy always holds up, and yet we're so quick to forget about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I love that we've started this podcast by defining that you are fully claiming who you are in this third act. In fact, your brand is all about third acts. I want to introduce you to our listeners and hear a little bit of your backstory and what you're doing now. Will you share your history in terms of what did you consider your first act and then your second act, and now you're saying you're on your third act? So let's
yeah,
take everybody on your journey.
yeah. So I defined the three acts. Act one is youth. You're born, you're
Mhm.
conditioned, you're given all the scripts, all the supposed tos, all those things, right? Act two, I call adulting, and you go perform those scripts. You go do the things you're supposed to do, right?
Mhm.
Act three, it becomes your turn because we run out of script. I'm about to be 59 years old. We've done everything. We've done everything we're supposed to do. We have fulfilled all of our roles and all those things to society at this age. I don't have children. I'm child free by choice, but women my age typically are becoming empty nesters. The kids are flying the coop, all those things. We've done everything. And
Right.
now we are off script. But my personal story is my act one was it was a shit show. Am I allowed to cuss on here?
As
Shit
we
show.
said, be you, Colleen.
Exactly. So it was a shit show. I was born into a very toxic, unhealthy, abusive family,
Mm.
and that continued. And of course, anybody who has come up through that, you adopt behaviors and ways of being as a result of that, like unprocessed trauma and those types of things. So I came into act two thinking I was like all good to go, ready to go. I was very accomplished and educated and all those things. But I had continued a lot. Trauma leads us to do things and that we wouldn't necessarily do. But I went on to have a really wonderful career. I have two master's degrees, kind of typical overachiever. Was married to my now late husband almost 30 years. People always ask me, was it a happy marriage? I'm like, very tumultuous. I came into it very unhealed and then started healing along the way. And then so when the universe flipped things upside down, right around 50 for me, I was laid off. I became a caregiver for my husband. He subsequently died. I then lost my only sibling, lost
Mm.
four best friends, lost most finances. Like the life just flipped upside down. So on the one hand, I didn't have any choice but to start over.
Mm.
On the other hand, I see all the women I work with. This third act really is when we get to finally become ourselves, to be honest. And it's a lot of unpacking, it's a lot of unlearning. It's more deconditioning, I think, than it is learning. So that's why I
Yeah.
call this my first life. This is the first one where I'm like, what do I want? Who am I? Who am I? What do I want? Right?
I
Yeah.
think a lot of people can like resonate with what you're saying and really wanting to act from a place of more agency. But maybe they're like, how do I do that? I've been operating under these scripts for so long. The deconditioning, as you noted, can take, it's a process, right? It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So, what was that process? Like, what old scripts were you breaking to get to where you are today? And what did that process look like for you?
I think deconditioning will be lifelong now.
Mhm.
There isn't an answer. We don't. I always laugh like people talk about reinvention. I'm like, you don't arrive at some random Tuesday like, oh my God, there it is. I'm reinvented. Like it just doesn't happen that
Yeah.
way, right? It's a lifelong thing.
Mm.
The deconditioning, I just really started training my brain to question everything. Do I believe that? Like, do I believe it? Or was that like something that was given to me, down to like silly things like, is that what I want for breakfast? And I know these like analogies sound really stupid, but it was really just training my brain to be like, wait a minute, what, like checking in with myself first
Mhm.
for everything,
Mm.
for everything. And that was a lot of it. And it doesn't come without fallout, of course, because you do change. Oh my gosh, you've changed so much. You're so different. It's like, no, no, actually, this is more me. That wasn't me. This is
Uh-huh.
me now thing. And so that's where you start is you just check in with yourself first and you got to practice. You got to practice it.
Yeah, you have to stop your or you have to, instead of just accepting, it sounds like, what's around you, you have to train your brain to stop and take a
Yeah.
minute to
Yeah.
maybe take
Yeah.
a breath and be like, "Wait, does that work for me? Is
Yeah.
that what I really feel?" What were
Yeah.
some of the scripts that you had to break personally? What were your scripts that you were
I mean, I
operating out
think
of?
like the biggest one that I look back on now that hindsight is 2020 was this
Mm.
desperate need to be married. Even though I didn't want children, I never wanted children. One of them was this desperate need to be married. Like it was the status. Like I, I have a husband. I got a husband. I was chosen. We lived a very lovely life that
Mhm.
I look back now and I'm like, it wasn't it wasn't me. Like I never fit in. And I've
Mm.
often talked about this in my early 40s. It was perimenopause. I didn't know the word at the time.
Of course.
I did not know the word at the time. The emotions, the hormones start going. And I remember I started waking up, and the first thought on my mind every day was, what about me? What about me? Where am I in this life? Like
Mm.
I had constructed this entire life built on external validation and
Mm.
external shoulds and external. Was it all bad? No, I had a lovely life, but it wasn't necessarily all mine chosen. So that was a big revelation that so much of my life, and I don't think I'm unique in this. I think, as you said in your intro, so much of us live very predefined lives. And there's something about this kind of middle age where you do start questioning. You do, especially as women, you recognize imbalances, you recognize all these things. I remember I've told the story a million times. Like I'd wake up, what about me? What about me? And it was like I'd
Mm.
have this discussion with the universe, like, all right, universe, I've been such a good girl. I have done everything I was supposed to do. I would like to collect my prize now. Where's my
Mm.
prize? And the universe was like, psych, there's no prize. There's no prize. The
Yeah.
prize is you now realize
Yeah.
you really haven't been living your true life, which I think is very common with women.
So actually, what I'm wondering when you say you wake up and you have this epiphany or this feeling of what about me? Was that a whisper? That did that feel like a whisper to you
No, no.
inside?
It's
What
like
was
I
that?
woke up one day and the universe was like, like I
Mm.
couldn't, I'm like, the genie was out of the bottle and I couldn't put it back. Like I think it had probably been whispering to me
Mm.
before. Why are you tolerating this? Why are you
Mm.
allowing that? Why? And you put it back under the rug very
Mm.
quickly because the consequence of acknowledging it is
Mm.
huge. Like, oh shit, what have I done? Right?
Well, and
Uh,
because
we
it
all do
can,
it.
you might
Yeah.
have to untangle so many things that the structure that you've set up to live the life you're living in one way. And I do think that's a fear for a lot of people. Well, man, that means I'm going back to zero. Would you
Yeah.
challenge that narrative though? Do you
We
really
don't
have to
go
go
back
back
to
to zero?
zero. We
Hmm.
don't go back to zero, but I will say this, when you start living a very true life, there is fallout. There will always be fallout because you're changing the dynamic of people around you, the situations around you, all of those things that mean you shouldn't do it. But there is fallout, and there's fallout. I always say to people, you're not you're not avoiding one discomfort by not being true to you. You're choosing a different discomfort, because once you have that idea of what about me, or wait, this doesn't feel right, or whatever, once you have that, that is very uncomfortable, right? And then deciding to stay in the situation and let it keep happening is also very uncomfortable, because that sense of self abandonment, like, you know, it on a soul level, like, man, I am really not doing right by myself here. So, you know, you're just picking one discomfort over another, right? We're not avoiding it.
What was your wake up call? Um, what was that kind of moment where your perspective shifted once and for all? Was there an event in your life that made that happen? Was it a quiet
It was a series.
revelation?
It was
It
a
was what?
series of moments. I had so much loss, so much loss, so much loss in a very short period of time. And I went through what psychologists call like the dark night of the soul. Like, what am I even doing here? And then I went through what I call almost like a 2 or 3 year I call it a temper tantrum. Like, why me, universe? Why me? This isn't fair. Like, really, really angry at it all till I got some really good therapy. And then one day, it wasn't one time, but the wake up call was, oh shit, this is my life now. This is it. I can move forward with this or not. And I had a therapist say to me one time, it was really interesting. She's like, if everybody who ever wronged you fell at your feet and asked forgiveness, and everything that has happened to you didn't happen, what would it change?
Mm,
Nothing. Nothing. You're still like you are where you are. It's yours to move forward with or not, right? There's no retribution or undoing, or you either choose to take responsibility and go forward, or you don't. And
mm.
it doesn't mean there aren't moments. Like, ooh, we all have our moments, but that was the moment. I was just like, shit, this is my life. I can do with it. This is where I am. This is what I have. I can move forward or not. That's the realization.
Hi, friend. It's Kristen. I hope you're really enjoying this episode. I just wanted to take a quick pause from today's conversation to ask you a question. How many times have you listened to a story on this show and seen yourself in my guest because their story was so relatable? You've had a similar experience and you thought, I know exactly how she feels. I relate to her experience and I know I need to do something to change my life too. But then life gets lifing and you go right back to ignoring that inner whisper about what's next. You know where I'm going with this, right? You find yourself wondering, okay, Kristen, sure, but how do I actually do this without completely burning out? I see you and I've got you. Inspiration is great, but it doesn't change your life without action. That's why I write the Bold Moves newsletter. I personally distill these episodes into the exact mindset shifts and bite-sized micro actions you can start using to make the change you're craving. It's the clarity and the mentorship you need to pursue your bold move as the main character of your life. So stop waiting, stop wondering, and together let's make your bold move happen. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe right now, and I'll see you in your inbox. All right, now let's get back to this conversation. I know that you experienced a layoff after 25 years in your career. You explained the loss of your husband. There was other losses in your life. How did those events, those circumstantial events, right, that you
Yeah.
had nothing to do with, change your perspective?
Yeah, a little bit of dark humor. I always say when you've lost everything, you have nothing left to lose. So it's all like sunshine and rainbows. That's a little dark humor. I think the greatest lesson I've taken from it is everything is temporary.
Mhm.
Everything is temporary in our lives. Sometimes it's temporary for decades and decades. Sometimes it's not. And anybody who's experienced loss, you internalize it in a way that you just act differently. So I think that is one perspective shift. Another perspective shift, maybe more like existential, is when you like losing my sister, I would say was harder than losing my husband. She was 59, colon cancer. I'm like, she didn't even really get to
Yeah.
finish things out. I'm like, this is really like, this is it.
Mm.
This
Mm.
is not a dress rehearsal. This is it.
Mhm.
And one day you are just dead. That's it. And nothing that went before really matters. And
Mhm.
so, what that has given me is like this freedom of all this angst and anxiety and all this shit. It's not going to matter one day. Like, I'll just be dead. And so, you might as well go do the scary thing or the thing that you've been putting off. It won't matter eventually. It won't matter eventually. And so I think it's been incredibly like empowering just to go do things, just to go do things and to address those things. Like you were talking about this dissonance, you say it much more eloquently. I'm like, you know exactly what you want. Every
Mhm.
human does. We know exactly what we want. Whether we acknowledge it or not are two different things. And you can look at any point of friction in your life, that
Mhm.
hard conversation you don't want to have, or that dream you're really excited about, but you're terrified to go for. Those are all points of friction. Those tell you
Exactly.
exactly what you want, what you don't want, what's working, what doesn't working. Like the clues are all there. They're all
Mhm.
right there. You just have to listen.
I think that eventually there becomes that existential question. It leads to, what is the meaning of my life? What is the purpose of my life? And what can really drive my impact in this world? I think
Yeah.
becomes much more of a focus when something really forces you to look at your insides. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
actually pretty easy, Colleen, to ignore your feelings
It is.
because
It is.
there's a
Well, we're
lot of
taught.
responsibility.
Yeah, we're taught to, and I think as women, of course, this I always go back to this patriarchy. I've become like this raging like feminist. I'm like
Yeah.
pissed. I'm pissed about the whole thing. But we're really taught to put our feelings second, right? Our
Mm.
goal is to help other people make sure they're comfortable and good. And I don't think we're really taught to look inside or really individuate or monitor how we're feeling about things because our role is to serve others,
Mm.
and then one day you realize that that doesn't necessarily feel right. And that's when you
Exactly.
start questioning it. Um, it's this
Mm.
idea of acknowledging it. And I have this concept or this thing I talk about, this radical self responsibility,
Mm.
which totally sucks. Like, because you
Yeah.
are really responsible for yourself. And I'm like, any able bodied adult, we are exactly where we are choosing to be at any given moment. And nobody wants to think about that because that sucks. Like, but they did this and so it's really easy. And so listening to your own feelings and having to take responsibility for them, because sometimes your feeling is like, this situation isn't right. I need to get out of it, or there's fallout from it. Right. And so, yeah, sometimes
Exactly.
we don't even want to look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't remember how many days in a row you've been on Instagram doing lives, but I know it's a long time and you probably have the exact day. So what is the count that you
I
have
don't
been
have the
doing
exact count. It's 600 plus now.
lives?
It yeah, it's big. I have lost count. I've lost count, but it's like 600 plus. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love this story and I would love for you to share it with our listeners, that, and because I think this was one of your bold micro actions. And that's what I teach to change your life. It's one bold micro action at a time. And you started 600 plus days ago showing up every day on Instagram Live as a way, I assume, but I can't wait to hear the backstory, to put yourself out there. So can you tell me and us
Yeah.
what that bold micro action was all about? What was behind the scenes of that?
Yeah. Honestly, well, it started on TikTok, I'll say
Okay.
that. And it was really more um I just thought one day I'm gonna go. I see everybody else going live. I'm gonna go live. Why not? And of course, my very first live was disastrous. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and some creep came on and was creeping, and I didn't know how to block or delete him. So I powered my phone off. I panicked. Like I powered my whole phone off. Like that's how I ended the live. And then the next day I just came back and I kept talking about it. I found it to be an incredibly freeing place. This sounds ridiculous, like an anonymous place to
Mm.
say exactly what I'm thinking. And I say anonymous because I would say people on social media now know me much more deeply
Yeah.
than even people like my best friends in real life. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just find it a place to really say what I'm thinking. And it's been an incredible way to really process
Mm.
how I think about things
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to articulate it and to articulate it.
Yeah, so after you had been doing the TikToks and now the Instagram lives for, let's just call it like 60, 90 days, what themes became apparent to you? What were you like, "Oh, this is what I believe and this
Yeah.
is where I'm
Yeah.
going." Yeah, what can become
Yeah.
clear?
The themes are many.
Mhm.
Women my age, we're pissed. Like we have this kind of underlying rage that I hear from so many, where you do look back, the hindsight and imbalances and what you wish you could have done different, the
Mm.
woulda, coulda, shouldas, those types of things. That's all fine and good. Um, Another theme is I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want.
Mm.
And I'm like, I'm calling bullshit on that. You know exactly what you want. You think about it at 3 a.m. when you're up, this menopausal insomnia, and you have that great idea, the big dream to this. And by 7 a.m., you've talked yourself out of it. So you just put it out, put it under the rug again. So this idea we don't know what we want, uh, we're afraid. We're terrified of uncertainty as humans, and there is no such thing as certainty. So the theme is we will overthink and overanalyze and overplan, and I'm going to go do this big thing just as soon as the
Mm.
stars are aligned and these people have done this and they have fallen in line here and I've learned one more thing and I've lost 20 pounds and da 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 da. Then I will go do it, and there will be no chance of failure. And I'm like, bullshit. There's always a chance of failure. And
Mhm.
so it's really where I started coming up with this idea of your life is nothing but a series of experiments, anyhow.
Exactly.
It's nothing but a series of experiments. And micro experiments, micro steps, micro actions, micro decisions will
Mhm.
help you bypass your brain's need to keep you alive. Actually teaching a workshop on this tomorrow, but this idea of like your brain does not know the difference. If you're going to do something new, like say you want to go on a solo travel trip, you've never traveled solo before, and oh my God, it's uncertain, it seems dangerous. Your brain does not discern that uncertainty from that of the saber-toothed tiger coming to
Right.
eat you alive. It's just danger, danger, danger. And so we have to learn to bypass that. And I think through micro steps, micro
Yeah.
experiments, your brain's like, okay, it's dangerous, but it's not that dangerous. So you can take that little step and you can take that little step. And then you take the bigger step, and then all of a sudden you're doing the big thing.
And then you've done it, and now you have the history to remind yourself, I've done bold things before, I can do them again. But a
Yeah.
micro step in your example, Colleen, I'm thinking is just, I want to do a solo trip. Okay, let's get on the internet and research where I want to go. That would
Yeah.
be one micro step. And then
Yeah.
maybe it's, okay, well, I want to get there by myself and I want to have a day or two buffer time, but maybe I want to book a group experience where I'm on tour with some. So what would be some group experiences that I can do while I'm traveling,
Yeah.
right? And so I think I totally see this in bold movers too, in terms of the fear of moving forward to get what you really want, to go after your dream. They think about the end goal first
Yeah.
rather than just creating the very micro actions and steps that can take you in that direction. Um,
Yeah.
uh, as we're winding down today, Colleen, I want to ask you, what are the things that you are doing in your selfish era to really become the woman who puts herself first?
Honestly, I am just letting myself try things on for size. Like it's nothing more complicated than that, because I say, I don't really know what I want. I just said we all know what we want. I don't
Mm.
really know what I want or what my end goal is. So now my goal is to just follow my curiosity and
Mhm.
see what sticks, and then what doesn't, toss aside and keep going.
Mhm.
Like I'm on a year right now, a nomadic journey where I'm house and pet sitting across the country. no specific goal in mind other than to shake things up and see what I come across along the way, what's interesting to me. And I've already learned, like, this is really, and this is, I just did a video the other day. I'm in this property now up in New England, this big, beautiful home, big, beautiful property. It's stunning. It's
Love it.
stunning. And what it reminded me of was I had a big, beautiful home at one time. And I've lamented that, like, oh, that was so nice to have that. I'm in this big, beautiful house now. And I'm like, nope, I don't need this again. This is a lot of toilets to clean. This is a
Mm,
lot of work. And it's just, I'm letting myself try things on to see what sticks
mhm.
because I don't need to use my past as what I have to have in the future. And so what I want in the future is totally unknown to me until I come across it.
Yes.
That's the big move is just to try things on for size. Yeah.
And it's so inspirational. It's so inspirational because you've amassed this amazing large audience. It's not because you're doing anything marketing. You're just putting yourself out there, your beliefs, your values. You're saying it like it is in terms of your truth, and people are really connected to that. When I see that from you, it gives me more confidence to keep putting one foot in front of the other and just following more around my what my soul is called to do or what I feel like
Yeah.
I want. So it's really helpful to have other people who you can look to who are doing those things that give you actually it's like borrowed confidence, I like to call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So please go follow Colleen on social media. While we're here, what is your Instagram handle?
It's Colleen Kochannek. It's the same across all channels.
And I'll put it in the show notes for sure. So you guys can all go follow on Colleen's channel. One final question that I'd love to ask you, because you're so good at speaking your truth. What do you wish you had known earlier about being bold and living life more boldly?
Mhm. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. I get this a lot like, oh, but Colleen, you're so confident. No, no, confidence comes after. We have this
Mhm.
idea that people doing something like, oh my gosh, that's so bold. I wish I could be like her. You can. That
Mhm.
person doesn't have anything that you don't have. If you see somebody doing something bold, they're doing it afraid. They're doing it
Yeah,
uncertain. They don't have some special unicorn juice or whatever. We're all just winging it. Like we're all just winging it. You can't get confident in advance. You can't get it all comes after the fact. It all comes after the fact. And nobody, yeah, nobody has something that you don't have. That I think that's the biggest lesson. You have what you need right now.
right. There's no difference between you and that other person. So
Mhm.
if that's what's holding you back because you think there's a certain quality or trait that somebody has, no, no, go for it.
Yeah.
Um, Colleen, you are the president of my Selfish Era fan club. Uh, and so thank you for coming by today, giving us the roadmap to stop being supporting characters in everybody else's movie. That's a very important message. Is there any other way that our listeners can get in touch with you?
Yeah. So Instagram and TikTok. I have a Substack also under the same name. And I have a Stan store with all of my resources, which is stan.store/Colleen Kohanek. So and they
Amazing.
can find any of those from any of my social media accounts.
Okay, amazing. So here's the thing, you guys. This is the first episode of season 5. Hope you loved this episode. And if you did, we would love for you to share the love in return with a 5-star review. I really am trying to be a little more bold myself, Colleen, by asking people to leave reviews. But it's not for me, it's so that the podcast players like Apple and Spotify can help this show find more women who need these stories to empower their own bold moves. Algorithms are a funky thing and reviews matter a lot. So, Colleen, I'm going to ask you, what can people who love this episode write in their review today? Something that emboldens them to step into their click.
I think I would write about this episode. I don't need to find confidence to go be bold. I've just learned that I can just go be bold.
You heard it straight from Colleen. All right. So you've got a prompt for the review. I look forward to reading all of them, and Colleen as well. Thank you again, Colleen. Thank you to everybody listening. We are so glad you're here, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me.
Before you go, remember, your next chapter is yours to write. If today's story made your inner voice whisper feel more like a scream, don't let the autopilot of life drown it out again. Commit to becoming the main character in your life by taking the micro action of subscribing to the Bold Moves newsletter. And together, let's make your bold move happen. The link is right there in the show notes, so subscribe now and I'll see you in your inbox.